Hey everybody, Jerry took second place yesterday with his Ogdoadic Therion deck. He is actually going to grace us with a deck profile. He said he would never do it unless he took second, and he did. So here we go.
Alright, so with Ogdoadic Therion, first off, I love reptiles, but they don't get enough love. So one day I was talking to Josie and he convinced me to make it. So I made it, and it actually is doing pretty well. So I'm going to give you guys the rundown on it. To start, I'm going to give you guys the Ogdoadic engine. Specifically, we're going to start with the 3-ofs. For the 3-ofs, you always play 3 of the Nauia. This one is great. It's a generic discard itself to send any light reptile from deck to graveyard. It also has a graveyard effect, or just effect in general, when it's normal or special, to add any Ogdoadic spell or trap from deck to hand. So that on its own can be a 1 to 2 card combo depending on what you have in hand. The other 3 of you should play is Nunu. This one's exact opposite of Nauia. It discards itself to send a dark reptile from deck to graveyard, and it special summons itself from the graveyard if you have no monsters or if you have an Ogdoadic on your field. So that on its own can give you your access to your rank 4 plays. The only other 3 of that I play from Ogdoadic is going to be Water Lily. Self-explanatory. Send 1 reptile from your deck to your graveyard. If you have 5 or more reptiles, special summon any reptile from your graveyard. So, access into any of your boss monsters late game, or even turn 1 if you open Nunu and Nauia. The rest of the Ogdoadics are all 1 of. We play 1 of Zoha. Pretty self-explanatory. It's the only normal summon that you really have in the deck. It's the generic discard a card, add it back to hand, and when it's sent to graveyard, you get to add any Ogdoadic from your deck to your hand and discard a card, and then make your opponent drop a card. So it's a good little hand rip for the opponent too. We also play Queen at 1 of. I opted for 1 of because usually if you start with these in your opening hand, it kills your game. You have no more grind, completely breaks up your hand and stops you from being able to discard or summon at all. But really good for the fact that if your opponent specials from graveyard, send any card on their field to the graveyard, and whenever a monster is sent to their graveyard, summon a light or dark reptile from your graveyard. So good for non-targeted send instead of destroy, so really good against Fire King, weirdly, and then gets you access to your boss monsters again. Then we have Light. This card, easily, in my opinion, best card in the deck. It will set you up for all your plays. When it's in graveyard, tribute a monster as cost, special summon it from grave. When it's special, you could target low 4 or lower reptile monster in your graveyard, special summon it to the field. So this, you send this off of Nauia, and then you normal summon Zoha, tribute Zoha to get this and Nauia to field, and it gives you access to your full combo line, and gives you access into your Therion line. Then we have King, same thing as Queen, not worth playing at a 2 of or a 3 of, but good for sending to deck, like from deck to grave. And this one is, just like Zoha, another hand rep. If your opponent adds a card to their hand, except during the draw phase, make them discard a card from their hand, and if it's a monster, add a reptile from your graveyard back to your hand. So get to your combos back, get to your 1 card started back. Then the 2 boss monsters, the 2 overlords. This one doesn't really need an explanation. The big boss monster, non-target, send all monsters on the field to the graveyard, except for 1 special summon from the graveyard, which, if you're keeping track, every Ogdoadic monster can special summon itself from the graveyard by tributing a monster. So this wipes your opponent's field, doesn't wipe your own field. It is great, it's annoying. Everyone who's ever gone up against it, usually when they see this, it'll force them to waste their imperm, forces them to waste their Ghost Mortars. Any hand trap they have, they'll usually shotgun on this, and if they don't, they can't build a board. And then the other Overlord, this one's great. If a card is sent from deck to graveyard in general, which all of these do, it will special summon itself from the graveyard. Then the better effect is if it's special summoned from the graveyard, as long as it was special summoned from the graveyard during that main phase, special any light or dark reptile from the graveyard. And the only bad part is it reptile locks you, so usually you summon this off Water Lily, you wait until you build your board, then activate the effect to bring out this Overlord. Your reptile lock, but now you have your board wipe and whatever Omni Gates you set up. That's it for the Ogdoadic engine. Pretty small, but effective, gets the job done. Now for the Therion engine. This was needed to kind of get you access into your rank 8 plays, which I'll show you what we run for that later. But this is the backup support to get Ogdoadic running and to actually get you access to your cards. We play the 2 Regulus. Self-explanatory, it's an Omni Negate in the deck. A free Omni Negate from any of your Therion monsters. So this is great because you can just send it to graveyard, equip it, Omni Negate on field.
And he looks super cool.
He does look cool. Actually, weirdly enough, I barely noticed that this is technically part of the Albaz lore, so love it even more because I love that lore. 1 Lily. I used to play 2, but my friend convinced me that 2 is a brick because if you open hand this, no other plant monsters in deck, so it's just kind of dead, but gives you access to your field spell, so you need 1. This one is a bit more interesting. Most people don't play it, but I do. Dukeule. Just part of the Therion engine just to get it rolling, but also prevents them from being destroyed, so really good. Makes it so if your opponent summons Baron, your Regulus is protected from destruction, and you still have an Omni Negate, so kind of worth it. I can see cutting it, but I personally want to keep it for that protection. Now we play 2 Empress. This is the actual starter for the Therion line. Because any reptile, equip it, special summon it. But more importantly, it's a level 8, which means you now have access to the rank 8 plays. And you can discard a card off this card to special summon a Therion that's equipped on the field in the spell and trap zone. So it gets you 2 level 8 bodies off 1 monster. Other than that, not really a lot of Therion monsters. For spells, 1 charge for the draw 2, Endless Argo to get you access into Empress, and then 2 Discalciums, just because it's destruction protection and it recycles your Regulus, recycles Empress. But that's it for the Therion engine. Now for more interesting little tech cards. For this, I play 2 Reptilian Llama. Really good card. Going second, its effect is you target a monster your opponent controls, make its attack 0 permanently. Not for the turn, forever. Take damage equal to its attack, special summon it. And level 2 tuner. So you can kind of get it. Level 2 tuner, level 8 reptiles, a free Baron. Does not reptile lock you too.
Nice.
Another one, which is a little bit interesting, is I played 2 Kashtira Fenrir, not the 3, because 3 in a 42 card deck, I didn't want to go up to 43. But more importantly, this deck has a lot of problems board breaking. It cannot board break on its own terms. It definitely needs the setup to be able to board break. So this, really good. Because now your opponent kind of has to negate this or destroy it. Otherwise, they're losing a boss monster off that banish. So worth it for the fact that you can add 1 off of its effect and discard it for the next card in the list, which is Snake Rain. Favorite card in the deck.
Snake Rain.
Snake Rain, best card. I need more rarities for Snake Rain. I need Ghost Rare Snake Rain right now. Its effect really simple. Discard a card. So get that Fenrir, add 1 Fenrir, discard the other one. Send 4 reptiles from deck to graveyard. That's it. Really self-explanatory. Send 4 reptiles. That gets your entire Ogdoadic chain going. And if you have Regulus, send Empress off this. You have your Omni Negate, your Nibiru protection, Droll protection right off bat. That's it for tech cards. On the other things, we don't play a lot of hand traps and interruptions, but we do play some. We play 2 Nibiru. You kind of need to play it in the current format. If you're not playing it, you're kind of just throwing the game. Because this will full board wipe for you and punish them for building up on you. So you need that one. For Imperm, I play 3 Imperm. In my opinion, this is probably the second best hand trap in the game right now. My preferred favorite is Effect Veiler, but for the same reason I like Effect Veiler, I like Imperm, and I see more value, because on either opponent's turn, not once per turn, target negate a monster, so you kind of need it. I play 2 Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. Really good. When your opponent special summons a monster, target that monster, negate its effects, leaves the field, they take damage equal to its attack. This game actually, my first time playing this deck at locals, before I kind of fix it up a little bit, actually won me around against one of our best players in our little town named Javi, because it actually burnt him for time. But he got me back on round 2 for that, so, you know, worth it for time, but other than that, pretty hard to use and when to use it. Then we play one draw. Only one draw because we don't lose to draw, but if you start with all Therion in your hand, you can lose to draw. So I just play one of it for the one crossout target. I only play the one crossout. I've thought about going back up to 3 like I used to, but with one crossout, I actually find myself opening crossout and the other card called by a lot more. So instead of playing 2 crossout, 3 crossout, I'm doing 1 crossout, 1 called by. I actually usually open one or the other in my opening hand, so I'm protected from Nib, I'm protected from Droll if I need to, and I'm also protected from Ash. If I really need the called by, I do usually end up having at least one or the other, so it's really good to just play 1 and 1, at least for this deck.
That's crazy.
That's because this deck does brick a lot. If you play more than 42 cards, you will brick, because you'll open your Reptiles, your hand traps, and they'll all be level 8, and you can't play the game. That is it for the main deck. Playing 42 card main deck. Thought about playing 40, but I needed the Fenrir, so that's it for the 42. Alright, so for side deck. My side deck is a little bit interesting because most of the side deck revolves around helping the deck get rolling for a game 2 scenario. So to start, I actually play, Phantasme. Mostly, I hardly ever side this one in unless I'm going against specifically Fire King. If I'm going against Fire King or Fire King Snake Eye or Pure Snake Eye, this is really good. When they get the Prom Princess, pop it to draw the 4 and keep 1 card. So it helps me to kind of make sure I get my board breakers going for turn 2. Without this card, the matchup against Fire King Snake Eye is impossible. You're just losing. Then for the other 3 of inside, 3 Effect Veiler. Going second, I will usually take out my Ghost Mourners for it because I prefer that little burn to get the early pressure on them. And also because you can only activate it on your opponent's main phase, so only play it going second. I never play it going first. The second draw. The second draw is specifically for our friend Adriel because he likes Vanadium. So if Adriel is watching this, I want you to know I do play at least 2 draw in every deck because I don't want you to have fun. But any combo deck, it can really kill, but it's mostly for Vanadium.
Yeah, all of my decks get killed by Droll.
Yeah, no, he definitely gets hit by Droll, so, it's funny to just sight in the second one, hit him with it, and then cross out it on my turn, so it's fine. 2 Forbidden Droplet. The reason for Forbidden Droplet is because of the fact that our monsters excel when they're in the graveyard. So, Forbidden Droplet, to get rid of any level 8 bricks you might have in your hand, and to get a negation, gets your board running. This will get your board running, get rid of a problem.
And not being able to respond to it is crazy.
Yes. So the other good part about this is, since we play 3 Water Lily, usually off this I'll send 1 level 8, so I'll send like Queen or Overlord off of this. And then I'll get rid of a Water Lily. Just that way they can't respond to Crossout. With Crossout to Forbidden Droplet, and they just have to sit there and eat it. And then later on we just add another Water Lily from deck to hand. Then we play 2 Triple Tactics. I don't main deck this because of the fact that I think that if you're playing expecting yourself to lose to a hand trap, then your deck needs to be revised. So I don't main deck this in any deck because of the fact that if I get hit by a hand trap, I usually can keep rolling through it. But going second, the Omni Negates are what the problem is. So I can force them to use 1 Omni Negate off something like Droll, Triple Tactics, take control of one of their monsters, force out another one. And then I also play 2 Cosmic Cyclones. This is specifically for Vanadium or the Snake Eyes, because I'll get rid of the field spells, or more importantly for Snake Eyes, I will get rid of the monsters in the spell and trap zone. Then the last 2 are Dark Ruler. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of Dark Ruler because you lose your battle phase, but it's like I said before, this deck has a really, really bad problem with breaking and playing through an already established board. It can do it with the right cards in hand, so Forbidden Droplet can usually get you through it, but this just helps. This will get you all the pressure you need to start breaking through and playing through an enemy board. Obviously, because it negates everything, can't be responded to. So, 2, just for that extra little help. That's it for the side deck. Now moving on to the extra deck. The extra deck may look a bit weird, but I promise there's a method to all of the madness. For the first extra deck monsters, we play 2 Reptilian Echidna. So this monster is one of the only 2 reptile locks in the deck. When this card is link summoned, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, make its attack 0 permanently, forever. And then for every monster your opponent controls with 0 attack, you can add a reptile from deck to hand. So if you have this and Lamia in hand, you can make 2 monsters 0 forever, add 2 reptiles. So you can add your Nunu and your Nauya, and you get your full combo started off of that. Then we play 1 IP Masquerino, just because it's really good, generic, and it leads into the SP on their turn. SP, if you're not playing SP, you're going to kind of be drowning in the current meta. This is a saint when it comes to saving boards and helping to play through them.
And he got them in the mosaic foil.
I did get him in the mosaic foil that I stole from my friend Isaiah, and he's never getting that sleeve back because I thought it looked really good on SP. So
Really does.
so he can eat it, I guess. Then we play 1 dark. The reason for the dark specifically and not the Hida is because of the fact that we have a lot of rogue players where we play. So usually we'll get other stuff, like we'll get a lot of people that are playing like Bestials and Engine, Archfiends, so dark comes up more than Hida does. But if I ever go to a big tournament and regionals with Ogdoadic for some reason, I would usually probably switch this out for Hida just because fires are a big problem. Then for the last of the links, I do play Underworld Goddess. The reason for the Underworld Goddess is because if I don't want to SP on their turn, I can IP into Underworld on their turn, and then it negates all face-up monsters they have on the field. So this is a really good lockout to kind of establish. So if they have Promethean Princess, I'll usually go straight into Underworld Goddess, and then this will negate all their monsters, and then they're fire locked for the rest of the turn. So this is really good at shutting that down. That's it for links. But for Xyz, which makes up the bulk of this extra deck, we play 2 King of the Feral Imps. This one is important because this gets you access to your Therion line. So remember I was saying Nunu itself can be your rank 4 Xyz, because off of light you can get Nauya and Nunu go into King of the Feral Imps. This will always fish you out Empress, and then Empress to get into your full Therion line to get into your rank 8 lines. We do play another rank 4 though, for players that are a bit more rogue. I'll play Abyss Dweller. Usually rogue decks have a hard time dealing with Abyss Dweller, so I always play 1 in every deck. Usually I'll side it out, but in this deck it stays at all times. Then for our rank 8, we'll play the Zombie Vampire. Zombie Vampire, it gets you full access into my lines. Sends top 4 from both, special summon any. So I can use this to get into Overlord, use this to get into Regulus, or just use this to actually, during the tournament, I was playing against a friend of mine. He was playing Vanadium. I used this to get his Fenrir, to add Fenrir to go into the Snake Rain combo. So, you know, really good. Especially with a format where a lot of people are playing a lot of the same cards. So you can usually get something that you already have.
Clever.
We also do play Harbinger. Harbinger, I've thought about taking out for other cards. I thought about taking out for Typhon for a while, but I personally don't like Typhon, and I do like that this is a spell negate. So if you're playing against a deck that is extremely rogue, and it has something like Zombie World, or if it has something like Layer of Darkness, those will eat your deck alive. So this will just completely get rid of that problem, and make it so you can at least continue playing. Very rare that I make this though. Usually I'll make Zombie Vampire before I ever think of this.
If you guys want to play some on my PlayStation, you're more than welcome to.
Cool, thank you, man. For the other rank 8, we play Buzz King. Shout out to Osei for this one. He actually went through a little bit of high water to find this for me because I needed one, and he got it. This is coming clutch a lot. I'll usually use this to get rid of people's Baron to do it, but another big one is I've had it a few times where I'll run into players that are playing a lot of one-ofs in their extra deck. So use this to snipe usually one of their end board pieces, and then doesn't stick around mostly for that sniping of the extra deck, because then off Buzz King I always go into Zeus. Zeus helps because it gives us a second non-target board wipe. So this and Overlord can usually control the game, because you do this one first to get rid of Overlord and to get rid of everything on their field, and if they respond to this with a negate, you respond with Overlord to wipe the field anyways, and now you keep all your monsters on the field. The other 2 spots in this extra deck are taken up by 2 Synchros. One of these is actually one of my favorite boss monsters to ever come out, and it is Changing Changing, amazing card. Level 10 Synchro. When a card is banished, it banishes one from the field and graveyard, and it gains attack for every banished monster. Usually, I don't make this in this deck, unfortunately, but if we're playing someone like I was playing our friend Jonah, who banished my monsters, if I was able to, and if I played a little bit smarter, and find your way into changing, you can start punishing them. So if they punish my Ogdoadics, this punishes them for doing that, and it completely starts taking their resources from them and gives me a bigger beat stick.
And he's got damage protection.
He does have damage protection, which that damage protection is really good. Then the last one is Baron. Simple, Omni Negate, shuffle itself back, gets me access to any of my big monsters again. This I play in any deck that can Synchro. If I can afford to Synchro into a Synchro 10, I play Baron. Mostly though for Baron, I'll use the Omni Negate pretty early because I'm probably going to be sending it to the graveyard off Overlord. But if I don't send it off Overlord, this is really good because now what I do is my turn, I recur it in order to make Queen specifically. Because then when I summon Light will force them to summon a monster from their graveyard, which triggers Queen to force them to send a card to the graveyard. And then Queen will summon Overlord back for a second field wipe. So this card single-handedly becomes 3 to 4 monsters. But for the deck, that is it for the extra deck and for the entire deck list. I'm probably going to keep playing with it and trying to get a first place at locals with it. If I make any changes to it, I'll let my friend here know, and I'll probably make another deck list with any changes I might make. But for now, that is it for the deck list.
Awesome. Thank you, Jerry. If you guys want to see Jerry build anything else, also let us know in the comments, because Jerry is an extremely talented deck builder, and 90% of the time I run like 6 or 7 things by him, and every single time he shuts them down, it's like, you're being stupid. I always keep one, but Jerry's very good.